Welcome to Americana Archives. Today's headline is Wrestling Trust is managing all bouts. The subheadline is St. Louis writer finds good reasons for suspecting that all is not right. It says, whether the wrestling game is above suspicion is a question that has arisen in connection with the rapid rise of the sport. Frequently, it has been intimated that there was a wrestling trust. That the rumor is not unfounded is evidenced by the following from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Imagine a wrestling trust. One finds some difficulty trusting most wrestlers, but there exists a syndicate that has reached out and in one way or another obtained control of all the wrestlers of consequence in the country, and of some not so fortunate. Now this may be a good thing for the wrestler. It ensures him regular employment at a fixed salary and enables him to earn a living without earnest rubberizing the whole sport or giving it a most dissolute appearance to the public. But it is awfully rough on the sport lovers, as St. Louis must be realizing from the dearth of good shows of the mat variety held in St. Louis. No real contest. The recent Zbyszko-Olsen contest was the first in which out-of-town wrestlers of note have competed here since the trust introduced its own show, right under the noses of local promoters. That was when Gotch and Company appeared with Jeffries and his combination last Christmas. Now nobody for a moment thinks that either the exhibitions given by Gotch and his troupe or that by Olsen and Zbyszko had any of the savor of a real contest. So we haven't really been permitted to get a match here with red corpuscles in it since the old days when Charles Hawden was on Earth. Nor is there much likelihood that we will ever be able to see a good show unless the heads of the trust see fit to come into town and stage one here of their own accord. Et tu, Frank Gotch. For today, the Syndicate of Men, headed by George Kennedy and Joe Coffey of Chicago, has virtually control of the services of every American wrestler, and it has a pretty good understanding with Frank Gotch. If you think this is drawing it too strong, here's a bona fide reply, in part written by Kennedy to a St. Louis man who has since offered as high as $12,000 to bring a certain match here. Here are the men I can get for your show who are not hooked up with other dates now. Eugene Tremblay, Canada, 135 pounds. Yusuf Mahmet, 200 pounds. Stanislaw Zbyszko, 185 pounds. Jim Essen, 225 pounds. Raoul de Rouen, 230 pounds. Charles Cutler, 220 pounds. Pat Connolly, 198 pounds. Con Kelly, 212 pounds. I will put on Mahmet for 50% of the gross receipts, transportation, and a guarantee that the wrestlers themselves get not less than $250 for their share. Modest one. How could you take it for so little? And he'll do just as nicely for any of the other wrestlers, won't you? 50% guarantee, and let the St. Louis man carry the bag for all the expenses. Great. Gotch is a little better. It's 60% if you'd like him. Within the last year, promoters have several times tried to bring prominent wrestlers here, but the wires could not be pulled so that the shows could be made to break even. Possibility for evil. Darker practices and mere control of the wrestler's time and dates are hinted at by the enemies of the trust. If the trust is nursing a prospective big match, we are told through wire pulling it prevents the affair reaching an anticlimax, such as might happen by having the wrestling gentleman being groomed for the championship occasion, being before he meets Gotch. All wrestlers are appointed by the trust for bouts with Gotch. When Mahmet came to this country, it was over a tortuous route that he worked his way up to Gotch. He met everything in sight before he finally won the privilege of getting beaten, just as everyone knew would happen all along. But think of the box office receipts before the Mahmet lemon was entirely squeezed. Next it was Zbyszko, who was imported and sent around the circuit. And does it not look peculiar that Gotch could not bulge this man in Buffalo long ago, but could throw him twice in half an hour at Chicago? The difference between a $5,000 house and a $35,000 gate explains, perhaps. There's nothing really illegal in what is actually known of the trust methods, but the combination stultifies the game a bit. It is perhaps not more to be censured than the theatrical trust. The man who deserves most blame gets away with least. He is Frank Gotch. He lends his assistance to the plans of the promoters in their date making. Without Gotch, the trust would fall of its own weight. If Gotch really retires, now is the time, you gentlemen of promoting instincts, who have been raving for a chance to reopen the wrestling game in this and other cities, to step in and guess who is to be next champion, and get him down on a contract. If you do, you can get a little pin money for the winter horde too. This story comes from the great state of Wyoming, being reported in the Intermountain Globe of July 28, 1910. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.